Thank you, Peter, for introduction, and also thank you very much for inviting me here. I would also thank to previous contributor. I followed the whole symposium, and I really got a lot of thoughts, and it's very inspiring. So I was thinking, or of course, I was planning my contribution as a physical event, and I would like to share some material, some drawings, but unfortunately, I had to redesign it. So my contribution will be something between reading and talking and showing images. And so first part will be more like I will read some artist statement, or it's more like an artist talk. So I want to say that it is not an academic lecture, but I consider it more as an artist talk. So I would like to share with you my artist research in libraries. And okay, so I will use maybe an improper, or for somebody could consider it as offensive vocabulary, because I don't say Native Americans, but I will say Indians. But this is for the specific context of my work, which relates to vocabulary of my childhood and also to very specific kind of context. So now I share the screen and I start my presentation. Just, is it there?
No,
sure.
No, I don't see.
Not yet. That's
no.
now.
Not yet. Okay, so I stopped share. I shared,
Yeah.
but so once again. No, I don't see it also. I don't know why. Just a second.
Maybe try to double click. Yeah, now is there.
Is this image with me and with books?
Yes, with the books.
Okay, super. Thank you. Okay, great. So Frantz Fanon said long ago that today it is not enough to just explore the world, but it's necessary to change it. I believe something similar applies to the library. I look there mostly for what is not there, what needs to be added, changed. Paradoxically, what is missing from the library is what most defines, even reveals it. It didn't grow out of the ground like a tree. I have long known that it was created by dominant forces, by victors. The library, okay, I cannot move images, just, I don't know why it doesn't work. I tried it before, just a second. Okay. The library, which I have been discovering since childhood, represents the epistemic system of Western civilization with all the shadows it casts on other systems. For example, the knowledge of ancient cultures, which is passed down from generation to generation orally or visually, is hardly represented at all in our libraries. During the Yellow Book project, which happened in Barcelona in 2021, in collaboration with Chiquita Room Gallery, we did a parallel event with curator Agnieszka Kilian, and we invited artist Kudzanai Kurai from Zimbabwe to participate in the discussion. Kudzanai Kurai creates the time-lapse work, The Library of Things We Forgot to Remember, a comprehensive audio-visual archive of the liberation movements of 70s and 80s from South Africa. The absence of such knowledge, not only in our libraries, but also in those of South Africa, is an alarm of the continuing colonial dominance in the field of institutionalized knowledge. The Yellow Book is most recent artistic materialization of my ideas about the library and the possibilities for me as an artist to enter it critically. In Barcelona, in Tapies Foundation Library, Arus Library, Museum Picasso. This is, for example, this image is from Tapies Foundation. I search for and explore repress displays narratives. The work is a performative process taking place directly in the reading room, which I partially occupy and turn into a studio. Viewers and readers also collaborate on the work, for example, by recommending books and stories. I wrap the selected books in transparent covers on which I overdraw the covers of other books. A relationship, tension, critical dialogue is created between the original and the redraw covers. By overlaying two, a third cover is created. It is a projection of a possible conflict, a provocation, an open invitation to the reader whom the book may even accidentally reach in the future. So the drawings which I created, they are circulating in the library like without the end. The new cover is the missing complement, the materialization of absence as such. Both the public and my personal library are subjected to critical reflection. In the library of the Museum Picasso, for example, my lead concerns the questionable collection of Pablo Picasso's African masks. I point out the problem in an institution where it has not yet been reflected in any way. So this was an interesting kind of tension between institution which invited me to work for, and I was kind of dismantling some narrative which was presented by the same institution. Since 80s, critical voices alluding the quality and the appearance of this collection, of this Picasso mask collection, have been growing stronger. For example, one of the first critique was from former director William Rubin, former director of MoMA. Most of the masks came from dealers and are made for European collectors hungry for exoticism. Paradoxically, those exotic masks are entrenched in the DNA of modern art, which is still at heart of our libraries, museums, schools today, at the center of our knowledge. Admired, sold, bought, celebrated. I'm trying to unlearn the stereotypes I learned romanticized and admired in my childhood and youth, including Pablo Picasso, including the play at Indians. Unlearning is even harder than the learning. In my childhood, I collected and redrew postcards made bows, arrows, and head dresses. Watched the treasure of the Silver Lake with bated breath, mourned the death of Winnetou, memorized the names of Indian tribes, drew imaginary prairies on maps, invented chiefs' names, wrote a book. These days, I'm returning to childhood play and have been working on in someone else's skin, or in German title is called Fremde Haut, for several months in the library of Goethe-Institut in Bratislava. The curator of the site-specific work is Michal Horecký. I'm creating a new section of the library, new section of Karl May, which reveals a critical look at the tradition of playing Indians in our environment, especially in the context of German literature and culture, where the play at Indians has been deeply rooted since 19th century. As in my childhood, anew, I redraw illustrations from books onto transparent covers. I overlay motifs and try to put them into critical relationships. Play can be an effective ideological didactic tool, relatively unopposed by us. It inculcates power, schemas, racism, violence. The new section of the library includes, for example, a second German edition of James Fenimore Cooper's 1893 leather short-talking tales with illustration by Paul Moritz. I will show you this is the book cover from 1893, published in Stuttgart. The cover shows the main character, Natty Bump, dressed in an old Germanic costume, standing next to Indians, which is nonsense historically speaking. The illustration is ideologically tinged. The ancient Germanic people are akin to American natives, connected to nature, bravely resisting the oppression of the colonizers, the Romans and the British. There was this, actually, James Fenimore Cooper was one of super translated authors in 19th century in Germany, because he brought this romanticized vision of Wild West and Indians, and this German cultures in this times was very much identified with the heroic kind of life of Native Americans. Okay. Next, I discuss the works of authors who played a significant role in the adaptation of the Wild West into Germany, but also Eastern Europe environment, like Rudolf Kronau, Karl May, Buffalo Bill, Karl Bodmer, Karl Henkel, George Catlin, Friedrich Gestecker, Baudin Mulhausen, and others. There is a lot of authors which I mentioned now, but for example, Rudolf Kronau was one of, or most of them, they were travelers, explorers. They went to American territory and they tried to meet Native Americans and draw, paint them, and bring and broadcast publish some materials out of it in Germany. Maybe first who kind of deconstruct this romanticized image of Indians was Rudolf Kronau, and he was very big critic of colonizers who take over the Indian lands. Just to follow in the varied footsteps of Karl May, the best-selling author in Germany, is a great adventure. His books have been period adapted to a fatal degree and without the author's awareness. In 30s, they were edited in the National Socialist doctrine, and for example, names that sounded Jewish were dropped from the stories. Even in 1923, in Mecca, this is the title of the book, In Mecca, was published by the Karl May Verlag publishing house and under the name of Karl May, despite the fact that it was written by someone else in accordance with the needs of the time. Okay. So I would continue now talking this, and I will show you one example of multiple examples from my growing library or archive in Goethe-Institut. So each example or each story has its own cover drawing and its own material. So I will be able to share only one of many. So now you can see on the screen the drawing. Actually, the drawing from the battle, like Indian battle between Indians and cowboys. And here you can see another drawing, which is another, like actually almost the copy of the same drawing, but made in very different times. So this drawing was done by Karl Henkel, illustrator from Germany in 1891, and he illustrates the buffalo. It's not actually, it wasn't done in America, and it is not, it doesn't depict the real battle, but it depicts the performance of Buffalo Bill Wild West show in Germany, where Buffalo Bill was a big show performing Indian battles between Indians and cowboys. Many Indians or Native Americans were transported from United States to Europe to perform. And the second drawing is drawing from 1960s, and it is illustration from Zdeněk Burian, illustration of Winnetou. Paradoxically, almost the same drawing, which seems almost like a copy of one drawing in another times, represents a very different event. In first place, it is the battle, which is a Wild West show, which is fake, like kind of representation of the real event. And the second is the Winnetou, Karl May's Winnetou, which is also not representing the real event. So now I mentioned two big figures in the end of 19th century, which played a big role in adopting this whole story of adopting Wild West and this, let's say, romanticized image of Wild West in Germany and then in other countries, also in Eastern Europe. And one of them was Buffalo Bill. His real name was William C. Cody, and who invented these huge shows. Even in 1906, there was a show in Slovakia, in Košice. And the second one is Karl May, who also invented the kind of books. Both authors were, okay, in one side, Buffalo Bill was visited by thousands and thousands of Germans, and Karl May was in the same time read by thousands and thousands of Germans. So this is kind of starting of pop cultures in 19th century. And I was questioning because we do a lot of like some parallel events in Goethe-Institut, and we also had guests like myologists or publishers of Karl May. And I was questioning what was the relation between Buffalo Bill and Karl May, because they were competing in the same time and with the same format, and they competed the same audience. And then I tried to research it, and I found some results. This is the drawing on the left side. You can see the portrait of one Westman, which is Buffalo Bill, and on the other side, on the right side, you can see Karl May. They almost look like the same person or the same, totally the same composition. And actually, Karl May reflected Buffalo Bill's Wild West. He visited it in 1890 in Dresden. And actually, this was the first time when Karl May could see real Native American in real, because he has never visited United States until like 20th century. His first visit was in 1908, which was a very long time after he wrote all important books. And he tried to make his statement, and he was very critical because he said that Indians who play Buffalo Bill, they are not the real Indians, and real Indian would commit suicide rather than play in Buffalo Bill. And in 1893, in book Sure Hand, Karl May created a very bad character, the cowboy Old Webel. So this image, also the drawing from Zdeněk Bujan, is Old Shatterhand. Old Shatterhand is this Übermensch, this heroic person with all great moral and physical abilities. And actually, Karl May identified himself with Old Shatterhand. And Old Wabel is this bad man with a very bad habits, very low moral values. And he even wrote the dialogue between Old Shatterhand and Old Wabel in Old Shatterhand book. And I'm questioning, is it the dialogue between Old Shatterhand and Old Wabel, or is it the dialogue between Karl May and Buffalo Bill? Now I will read very short part of it because it's fascinating, but in the same time scary. And maybe this is also why I'm doing this project, because this kind of literature is still standing on the shelves and without any commentary and waiting for some unprepared readers. So maybe, okay, I start to read now. The talk between Old Shatterhand and Old Wabel. A black nigger. And I want to say something that I forgot to say, that again, I'm using this improper vocabulary. I am quotating now the edition from 2008, published by Verlag Reinhard Merheinecke. So I'm using original text without any, but of course, there are some offending words considered offending, like nigger or negro. A black nigger, says Old Wabel. Nigger You mean negro, Mr. Cutter, says Old Shatterhand. Nigger, I say, never said the word any different in my entire life. I'm sorry about that. It seems that you don't see Negroes as human beings, says Old Shatterhand. Old Wabble says, although they are listed as types of humans in natural history, even science regards them as such, but my gosh, what sort? Old Shatterhand. Their skin color is just as good as all other skin colors. Old Wabble. Psst. A nigger is such a lovely creature that it really doesn't pay to talk about him. Old Shatterhand. Is that really your opinion? Yes. Then I feel sorry for you from the bottom of my heart, because with this statement, you prove that you stand even below a nigger. By the devil, are you serious here? Completely serious. Then I feel just as sorry for you. A colored human can never be a real human, or else God wouldn't have painted him like that. Old Shatterhand answers. And a Negro could state the same with equal logic. A white isn't a real human, or God wouldn't have created him without the color. I have traveled around the world a little more than you and found at least as many good people among the black, brown, red, and yellow nations as among the white. At least, I say, at least. Do you understand me, Mr. Cutter? And Old Wabble answers, I don't care what you found. I never met a nigger yet with whom I would have wanted to share a seat. Etc. It goes, it's still very kind of crazy dialogue, but I cannot read it all. Okay, I show you some more pictures. This is the unwritten book, which is the overlap between two drawings. One is Old Wabble and one is Old Shatterhand. So in the library which I'm creating, there will be existing books, original books, new books, which are kind of critically reflecting the discourse, and also my unwritten books, like very small, intimate discoveries, which I try to bring to the library. I explained one of them now. Thank you so much for listening.